Your boundaries keep failing, not because you're not setting them. You are. You're telling people what you need, what you won't tolerate, what your limits are, and they ignore you. Walk right over your boundaries. Do exactly what you said you wouldn't accept, and you end up tolerating it anyway. That's not because your boundaries aren't clear. It's because you're making the fundamental mistake that Machiavelli warned about 500 years ago. You think boundaries are about getting people to respect you? They're not. They're about what you do when people don't respect you. The harsh reality is, boundaries without enforcement aren't boundaries. They're suggestions, and people treat them accordingly. Machiavelli understood. Dichiarazioni senza conseguenza, declarations without consequences, are meaningless. People respond to what you do, not what you say. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why your boundaries keep failing. The 3 fundamental mistakes you're making, and the Machiavellian fix that makes boundaries actually work. Because real boundaries aren't about what you say, they're about what you're willing to enforce. Let's start with why they're failing. Here's why your boundaries keep failing. 3 fundamental mistakes, and most people make all 3 without realizing it. Mistake 1. You announce boundaries, but don't enforce them. This is the biggest mistake, and it's almost universal. Here's what this looks like. You tell someone, "I need you to stop calling me after 10 p.m. That's my boundary." They call it 11 p.m., and you answer. Maybe you're annoyed. Maybe you mention it briefly. But you still engage. That's announcement without enforcement. You stated a boundary. But when it was violated, you didn't enforce it. So the boundary doesn't actually exist. Machiavelli documented this constantly in political dynamics. He called it confini dichiarati, declared boundaries. Leaders would announce limits. Cross this line, and there will be consequences. But when the line was crossed and no consequences came, the boundary disappeared. Not because the declaration was unclear, because enforcement never happened. The uncomfortable truth is, a boundary you don't enforce is just a preference you're hoping people will respect. And hope isn't strategy. Let me be real about this. I spent years setting boundaries, telling people what I needed, what I wouldn't tolerate, and then accepting exactly what I said I wouldn't tolerate. Because enforcing felt mean, confrontational, like I was being difficult. But boundaries without enforcement aren't boundaries. They're wishes, and wishing doesn't change behavior. Machiavelli's principle, confini applicati, applied boundaries. A boundary only exists where enforcement exists. Everywhere else is just territory you're hoping people won't cross. Mistake 2. You negotiate your boundaries when they're tested. The second mistake. When someone tests your boundary, you negotiate. You explain. You justify. You make exceptions. Here's how this plays out. You set a boundary. I don't lend money to friends. That's my rule. Someone asks to borrow money. And instead of simply enforcing the boundary, you engage. Well, how much? What's it for? When can you pay it back? Maybe just this once. And now you're negotiating a boundary that should be non-negotiable. That's negoziazione erosiva, erosive negotiation. Machiavelli observed this in treaty dynamics. The moment boundaries become negotiable, they erode. Not all at once. Gradually. Each negotiation moves the line. The harsh reality is, when you negotiate your boundaries, you're teaching people that your boundaries aren't real. They're starting positions for negotiation. And here's what happens. Every time you make an exception, people learn that persistence works. Push hard enough, provide the right reasons, and your boundaries disappear. Real talk. Someone repeatedly violated a boundary I'd set, and every time they'd have a reason, a justification. I know you said that, but this situation is different, and I'd engage. Okay, but why is it different? Can you promise this is the last time? And we'd negotiate. That negotiation killed the boundary, because I taught them, my boundaries are flexible. Just provide good enough justification, and they disappear. Machiavelli's principle, confini fissi, fixed boundaries. They don't move, they don't negotiate, they don't have exceptions. That's what makes them boundaries instead of suggestions. Mistake 3. You focus on changing them instead of protecting yourself. The third mistake. You think boundaries are about making other people behave differently. They're not. They're about protecting yourself when they don't. Here's what this mistake looks like. You set a boundary. They violate it. And your response is to try harder to make them respect it. More conversations, more explanations, more trying to make them understand why they should honor your boundary. You're focused on changing their behavior, making them respect you, getting them to acknowledge your needs. That's controllo esterno, external control, trying to control others' behavior. And Machiavelli would tell you, that's impossible. You can't control what they do. You can only control what you do when they do what they do. The uncomfortable truth is, boundaries aren't about getting people to respect you. They're about what you do when people don't respect you. Someone violates your boundary? The question isn't, how do I make them stop? It's, what do I do now? And the answer has to be a real consequence, not a conversation about why they shouldn't do it, not an explanation of how it makes you feel. A consequence. Let's be honest about why this is hard. Because consequences feel harsh. They feel like punishment. They feel mean. But Machiavelli understood. Conseguenze naturali, natural consequences, aren't punishment. They're just reality. You did X, so now Y happens. Not because I'm punishing you, because X leads to Y. Real talk. I had someone who repeatedly showed up late when we made plans. I'd set boundaries. Please be on time. They'd agree. Then show up 30 minutes late. And I'd focus on making them change. Why are you always late? Can you try harder? Do you not respect my time? That didn't work, because I was trying to control their behavior. What worked? Changing mine. If you're more than 15 minutes late, I'm leaving. That's not negotiable. They were late. I left. Not angrily, just enforced the consequence. You were late, so I left. Let's reschedule when you can be on time. Behavior changed immediately. Not because they suddenly respected me more, because the consequence was real. That's the insight. Your boundaries aren't about them. They're about you. What you'll do, what you'll accept, what consequences you'll enforce. Machiavelli's ultimate principle, autodifesa strategica, strategic self-defense. Don't try to control their behavior. Control your response to their behavior. Those are the 3 mistakes. Announcement without enforcement. Negotiating non-negotiables. Focusing on changing them instead of protecting yourself. Now let me show you the Machiavellian fix. So here's the Machiavellian fix for boundaries that actually work. 4 principles. Apply all 4, and boundaries stop failing. Principle 1. Enforcement is the boundary. The first principle. The boundary isn't what you say, it's what you enforce. Confini applicati, applied boundaries. So stop announcing boundaries you're not prepared to enforce. If you're not willing to follow through with a consequence, don't state the boundary. This means, before you set a boundary, decide what you'll do when it's violated. Not if. When. Because boundaries get tested. Always. Someone asks to borrow money. Before you say, "I don't lend money," decide, what happens if they persist? What do I do if they guilt trip? What's my consequence if they violate this boundary after I've stated it? If you don't have answers to those questions, you're not ready to set that boundary, because you're not ready to enforce it. Machiavelli's approach. Preparazione delle conseguenze. Consequence preparation. Know your enforcement method before you declare your boundary. The uncomfortable truth is, most boundaries fail because you announce them without planning enforcement. So when violation happens, you improvise. And improvisation usually means backing down. Principle 2. No negotiation, no exceptions. The second principle, non-negotiable, means non-negotiable. Confini fissi, fixed boundaries. When someone tests your boundary, your response isn't explanation or negotiation. It's enforcement. They ask for exception? No. They provide justification? I understand. And no. They say this situation is different? The boundary stays the same. That's it. No long conversations about why the boundary exists. No defending your reasons. No considering their special circumstances. Because here's what Machiavelli understood. Every negotiation weakens the boundary. Every exception teaches that boundaries are flexible. Real talk. This feels harsh. It feels inflexible. It feels like you're not being understanding. But you're not being harsh. You're being consistent. And consistency is what makes boundaries real. Pause right here. Go to comments. Tell me, do you announce boundaries but struggle with enforcement? Just yes or no. This is the most common boundary mistake. Knowing you're not alone helps you fix it without shame. Principle 3. Consequences must be real and immediate. The third principle, conseguenze reali, real consequences. Not threats, not warnings. Real actions that happen immediately when boundaries are violated. A real consequence is something you actually do. Not something you say you might do. Not something you threaten. Something that actually happens. If you call me after 10 p.m., I won't answer. That's a real consequence if you actually don't answer. If you're late again, I'm canceling plans. That's a real consequence if you actually cancel. If you speak to me disrespectfully, this conversation ends. That's a real consequence if you actually end it. And the consequence must be immediate. Not after multiple violations. Not after you've warned them 5 times. Immediately. First violation, consequence happens. Machiavelli documented this. Conseguenze ritardate, delayed consequences, teach that boundaries have grace periods, that you can violate them a few times before anything happens. And that makes them not boundaries. Let's be honest. Immediate consequences feel extreme. You want to give warnings, second chances, grace periods. But warnings aren't enforcement. They're negotiations, and negotiations erode boundaries. Principle 4. Protect yourself. Don't try to change them. The fourth principle. Autodefesa strategica. Strategic self-defense. Your boundaries exist to protect you, not to control them. This is the mindset shift that makes everything else work. You're not setting boundaries to make people behave better. You're setting boundaries to protect yourself when they don't. So when someone violates your boundary, your thought isn't, how do I make them respect this? It's, what do I need to do to protect myself now? The answer might be, end this conversation, leave this situation, distance myself from this person, Stop providing this resource, whatever protects you. Machiavelli's ultimate principle, confini strategicae, strategic boundaries. They exist for your protection, not their education. If they learn to respect boundaries, that's a bonus. But it's not the purpose. The purpose is protecting yourself. And you can do that whether they change or not. That's the Machiavellian fix. 4 principles. Enforcement is the boundary. No negotiation. Real, immediate consequences. Self-protection, not behavior control. Apply all 4, and boundaries stop failing. Not because people suddenly respect you more, because you're actually enforcing them. Now let me show you what this looks like in practice. So what does the Machiavellian fix look like in actual situations? Let me show you 2 contexts. Context 1, professional boundaries. You have a coworker who constantly interrupts your focus time with non-urgent questions. Old approach. Please try to save questions for our scheduled meeting times. They ignore it, keep interrupting. You answer anyway because it feels rude not to. Machiavellian approach. I don't respond to non-urgent questions during focus time. I'm available from 2 to 3 p.m. daily. They interrupt during focus time? You don't respond. Not rudely, just don't engage. Consequence is real and immediate. They complain? I'm available 2 to 3 p.m. See you then. No negotiation. No explanation. Just enforcement. And focus time becomes real because the consequence is real. Context 2, relationship boundaries. You have someone in your life who only contacts you when they need something. Never reciprocal support. Old approach. I feel like this friendship is one-sided. Can we have more balance? They agree. Nothing changes. You continue providing support anyway because saying no feels mean. Machiavellian approach. You stop providing what isn't reciprocated, not as punishment, as self-protection. They call needing support. I'm not available right now. Let's connect when we can have mutual support. They protest? I've noticed our dynamic is one-directional. I'm not available for that pattern anymore. No explaining, no justifying, no trying to make them understand. Just protecting yourself by enforcing the boundary. And here's what happens in both contexts. Either people adjust their behavior to respect your boundaries, or they exit. And both outcomes protect you. That's the Machiavellian insight. You're not trying to make them stay and respect you. You're protecting yourself whether they stay or leave. Confini strategicae work because they're about you. Your actions, your enforcement, not their compliance. The harsh reality is, some people will leave when you enforce real boundaries. And that's not failure, that's clarity. You've learned who was only there when you had no boundaries. Machiavelli understood. Losing people who don't respect your boundaries isn't loss, it's liberation. That's how it works in practice. Real boundaries, real enforcement, real protection, whether they change or not. Here's why your boundaries keep failing. You announce them, but don't enforce them. You negotiate non-negotiables. You focus on changing others instead of protecting yourself. And here's the Machiavellian fix. Confini strategicae, strategic boundaries. Enforcement is the boundary. No negotiation. Real immediate consequences. Self-protection, not behavior control. So here's what you do today, right now. Pick one boundary that keeps failing, just one, and apply the 4 principles to it. 1. Decide the enforcement. What will you actually do when it's violated? 2. Make it non-negotiable. No exceptions means no exceptions. 3. Plan real immediate consequence. First violation. Consequence happens. 4. Shift focus from changing them to protecting yourself. Then wait. The boundary will be tested. It always is. And when it is, enforce it. Calmly. Matter-of-factly. Without anger or explanation. Just enforcement. And watch what happens. Either behavior changes to respect your boundary, or the person exits. And both outcomes protect you. That's Machiavellian boundaries. Not about getting respect, about protecting yourself whether you get respect or not. Apply it. 1 boundary, 4 principles. This week. And stop failing at boundaries because you're focused on the wrong thing. You can't control their behavior. You can only enforce your boundaries. That's the fix. Use it.